Hello and welcome to the 5th series of Forthright,
the podcast with, for and by women writers.
If you enjoy the show, please give us a follow and a review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We've got some fantastic writers for you coming up. We hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Forthright podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Anna, and today we're absolutely delighted to introduce Marcia Hutchinson. Hello, Marcia.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, we're delighted. So, Marcia was born to Windrush generation Jamaican parents in the UK in 1962. She was the first pupil from her comprehensive school to go to Oxford, where she gained an MA in law. She worked as a lawyer before founding the educational publication company Primary Colours, which ran until 2014. She was awarded an MBE in 2011 for services to cultural diversity. Moving to Manchester in 2012, she became a community activist and was eventually elected as the Labour Councillor in 2021. She is now a full-time writer. She is the co-author with Kate Griffin, under the pseudonym Lila Cain, of the historical fiction novel The Blackbirds of St Giles, which was published by Simon and Schuster in January. The Mercy Step is her literary debut as a solo writer. Now that she's started, there's no stopping her. Her next 2 novels are with her agent. She has 2 others in the works. Wow, by the way. When she's not writing, Marcia teaches Zumba, yoga and spin, and has a dedicated following at gyms around Manchester. We're not doing all of the above. She works on her garden and renovates her house. I am so in awe of you.
Such a very, very busy person. So we're delighted that you've made some time to talk to us this evening. And just before we dive into some questions, Marcia's going to give us a reading from The Mercy Step, which is not out until July, so this is a great sneak preview. So, taking us back in time to 1960s Bradford, The Mercy Step follows the precocious Mercy, a young child facing a world that is far too big for her small body. Mercy lives with her Windrush generation parents. She craves her mother's attention, which she must share with the church and her many siblings. While trying to avoid the temper of her father, Mercy struggles to find her place in the world, surrounded by flawed adults and a family in which she feels like an outsider. Her only joy is her loyal doll Dolly and the escapism she finds in books. But Mercy is nothing if not resilient, and she takes up the fight to escape her traumatic upbringing, all while maintaining her humour, style and verve, a raw and tender story of family, isolation and growth. So just before you read, would you like to just let us know whereabouts in the book that you're reading from?
Yes, I'm reading from chapter 10. It's called The Domino Effect, and Mercy's dad likes playing dominoes in the house. And Mercy's mother dislikes this totally because she's a Christian and she thinks it's gambling. The noise is coming from the back cellar room. Daddy is in there playing dominoes with his friends. There's Mark D, Brookfoot Berries, Uncle Red, and some others whose names Mercy doesn't know. They all came trooping down earlier, wafting cigarette smoke before them, smiling and patting the heads of the children. Mercy ducked out of the way when Uncle Red tried to pat her on the head. His smiley face doesn't look so friendly these days. They brought bottles of Macassan Stout and packs of cigarettes, and they all wear proper grown-up suits. Mummy isn't paying any mind to any of them. Mummy disapproves of dominoes because it is gambling, and that is the work of the devil. "Blows on skirting, I'll bluff after all," comes from the back room. Mummy keeps sewing, but she grips the fabric tighter. She sets her mouth, and Mercy can see 2 lines form in her forehead between her eyebrows. "I tell him," she says under her breath, "not to bring any sinful gambling into this house." She tries to keep on sewing, but her lines are not straight anymore. She stops, bites the thread, and throws the dress onto the sofa. "Blam! To blood clotting windy round! Oh, with the picnic them in at the house," she says. "Listen them a chat bad word." She gets up, clasps her hands in prayer, and looks up. "Papa Jesus," she implores, "you say you wouldn't give me more than I can bear, but Lord God Almighty, this is too much. He has turned my house into a house of sin, a den of vice and iniquity." Blam! Go on, Sonny! The wretch did have the 6 after all. Mercy can hear metal scraping on wood, which she knows is Daddy clearing the coins off the table because he has won. Mummy is getting more and more upset. Duh, she says, looking up. Help me, Jehovah. Strike him down. Blam, blam, kablam. Mummy walks in a circle around the Singer sewing machine. And Jesus went into the temple of God, she says, and cast out all those that sold and bought in the temple. When she says, cast out, she throws her right hand out in a big circle and overthrew the table of the money changers. Mercy and the others watch her work herself up into a right state. I will not remain, she says, in a house of sin and damnation. With that, she yanks the door open and heads to the back room. Mercy trots after her. Mummy bursts in like a gunslinger into a saloon. The back room has a stone floor and an iron stove built into the wall and a big stone sink under the window. It's lit by a bare bulb dangling from the low ceiling. Mummy is tiny compared to all the men, but she sweeps both her arms across the table, sending dominoes, beer bottles and money clattering onto the floor. She grabs the corner of the table and yanks it upwards, flipping it upside down, and stands there breathing thunder. In the mighty name of Jesus, she shouts, I rebuke thee. It's like slow motion. The men's mouths hang open. They jump up and move back to get out of the way of the tiny tornado. Mummy stares at Daddy. Her chest is heaving. His eyes open wide and his cigarette drops out of his mouth. Oh, Weddy Ross, he says. It comes out deep and slow, and Mercy can see each word form behind his eyes before they appear on his tongue. He stands up, his head almost touching the ceiling. He is still behind the overturned table. For a second, nothing happens. There is no clock in the room, but Mercy can hear one ticking down inside her head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
That's just incredible. We often say to our writers that it's just great hearing something in their own voice. But you've actually recorded the audiobook for this piece as well. So I think that everyone's in for a treat. As a full-length version of you reading.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing the audio.
So to get us started, I guess, is if you could just tell us a bit more about the inspiration for the story. I know that it's loosely based on your own experience of growing up. So how did you come to write this story?
I'd written little bits and pieces over the years as short stories, and I sort of considered myself a short story writer. And I'd read some of these little vignettes to my writing group, and gradually people said, you should turn this into a novel. And I thought, I can't write a novel. And then, it's about 5 years ago, I had a bit more time on my hands. Kids had grown up, and I thought, right, it's now or never. And I started piecing them together, but I still didn't do anything with it. But when I got an agent, I got signed for a completely different novel, and we were progressing with editing that novel. And then I mentioned to my agent, I said, oh, by the way, I'm working on this. You might want to look at this. And she got back to me within 20 minutes and said, have you got any more? And I'd only written about 20,000 words. And I'm like, well, I got a little more. So I'd sent her 3 chapters, so I sent her the rest. And she said, I think you should finish this. And I'm like, hang on a minute, what about the book you've already got? And she persuaded me, and I was not happy about that, because I thought, well, it's going to take me ages. But she was so enthusiastic that I actually finished it in a month. I wrote 60,000 words in a month, and it was just done. And so it's been marinating for 30 years, and then finally it just came out like a fire hose.
I mean, reading your bio and all the extraordinary things you managed to squeeze into your life already, I'm not overly surprised that you managed to write 60,000 words in a month. But can I still ask you, how did you do that?
Well, I think the advantage of having had, let's call it a portfolio career, is picking up lots of skills. So I used to be a solicitor, and I dictate. So I'd get the dog, and we go for a walk around the park, and I would just dictate the chapters into my phone. And then obviously straight into Google Docs. And when I got home, I'd go through it, just make sure it made sense. So that's how I wrote it, and that's how I write my first drafts anyway.
That's really incredible, and I've never thought of doing that. Basically, when I'm walking the dog, that's when I listen to audiobooks. But and so that's quite inspiring. I've kind of gone, I'm going to give that a go.
So I guess if you're, with that process then, I'm fascinated with it as well. So with the process of dictating while walking, do you have to plan what you think you're going to dictate on your dog walk? Do you think like, I'm going to be working on this part? Or does it kind of come to you as you're walking? I guess it's the classic kind of planner or pantser question, but specifically around the walk.
Well, I started off as a pantser and it didn't work. So now I do a very loose idea. I have a loose idea of what I want to write for each chapter, but it is very loose. But I know, because I'm a bit anal like that, I know that at one circuit of the park, I can do 2,000 words. And I think, right, each chapter will start off as 2,000 words. It might end up longer or shorter, but I can get back thinking, that's it, I've done 2,000 words. So I'll kind of write around a particular incident, and then later try and string them together to make a story.
I just think that's just utterly, honestly, you've completely blown my mind as well. And this idea as well, that you can kind of, when people have their goal of writing however many words a day, and that's kind of like their mark of success and so on, that that 2 laps of the park is roughly 2,000 words. I think that's absolutely brilliant. It's just completely made me think about my dog walks in a totally different light.
Do you get some funny looks?
But chatting away on your phone. I guess it's just like talking on your phone though, is it?
Yeah.
I know, but I get back and there's paragraphs going, no, sorry, that's my dog. Please, leave her. And so you have to edit all the dog bits out.
And then, so obviously with the Blackbird of St Giles, that's you co-authored that. So I'm really interested in how that process worked as well.
Oh, that was completely different. We were put together almost like a dating agency. So Kate and I had never met. It was our agent who suggested the idea for the book.
Yeah.
And Kate's written 4 historical novels, all based in London, whereas my expertise is Black history.
Yeah.
So we were brought together over lunch at Claridge's, and I thought, yes, I will come to lunch at Claridge's. And we just hit it off, because I just thought there are too many moving parts. This project will never work. And it did. We literally got together, and it was like getting together with a sort of, a sibling separated at birth. And we were just prattling off ideas and, this character could do that. And what about this? And and we'd do this and that bit of African. It was just literally tumbling out of the pair of us. Thank goodness Kate does shorthand, so she wrote it all down. And within a few days, we'd come up with the characters, the story arc, where it was going to start, where it was going to finish, which historical period. And then we had to decide how we were going to write it. And I was running for election at the time. And I said, because I'm generous like that, I said, you do the first draft. So, and because she's a journalist, every Friday at 4 p.m., almost like clockwork, a chapter would arrive. And then I'd go through it and edit it. And yes, no, I'm not sure about that. And it just went backwards and forwards like that.
Because I guess you really do have to have quite a boundary process, I imagine, when you're co-writing. And is there did you have to find a way of like surrendering your kind of pride with these things, in that, if you're thinking, well, that was my bit and that was really good, and then you pass it over and it's kind of like, that doesn't work quite so well. Did you have to have that conversation about the end goal is writing a brilliant novel instead of having my bit and your bit?
Yeah, because we had lots of arguments, but I think it was very what do you call it? The creative spark, where I'd be like, no, we're not having that, and she's like, yeah, but it's historically accurate, and I'm like, I don't care, we're not having that bit in. So in the end, we sort of thought anything to do with the details of London history, I would defer to Kate, and anything to do with Black history, she would defer to me. So we kind of had our spheres of influence. Yeah. But we still had some, big disagreements. But I think the book was better for it.
Because I guess that's the thing with co-writing as well. You don't want to be able to see any seams in it. It's got to feel like one voice, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we've just finished writing book 2. So book 1, it was a 2-book deal. Book 1 came out in January, and book 2 will be out January next year. So it was a bit like mornings I'd write my own book, and afternoons I'd work on the book with Kate.
Oh, what a lovely life!
In between the Zumba and the
And everything else. Yes.
Yeah, and then I'd try and get a 1-hour nap before getting down to the gym for 5 and teaching Zumba, spin, yoga, and then I get back to why am I doing all this?
I'm very excited to hear that book 2 is coming off, because I've listened to the Blackbirds of St Giles. And I finished it, I think, last week. The audio of that is brilliant as well. And obviously that's Patterson Joseph.
Yeah.
I think he just did such a magic job.
Oh, he was, I thought, should we ask him? And it's a bit much. And he was just brilliant. It was a inspired idea to ask him. I'm so grateful he was available.
Yeah, because I was wondering that whether whether authors kind of have a influence in who does it. But you kind of picked him.
Well, I was on a panel with him, and I mentioned to Kate, and she said, ask him to review the book. And I thought, well, I've never met him before, I can't do this. And she's like, ask him. So I did, and he was so generous and said yes. And then after he'd read the book, he got in touch to say how wonderful he thought it was. So I suggested, would you maybe consider doing the audio? And he said yes to that. And actually, he's just written a blurb for Mercy, which I'm so happy about.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Because we've got lots of similarities in our upbringing. So, I'm just so happy about all that.
Yeah.
So I know you work as a full-time writer now, and plan your day around the different books that you're writing. But at what point in your life did you make that transition into writing full-time? And I know you do an awful lot as well, still around your writing. But how did you find that transition? Was it quite a solitary thing to continue doing, or do you kind of really enjoy the solitude of being able to write on your own?
I really enjoy it, but I think I'm a bit sort of schizophrenic in that I love writing the first draft, the walking around the park with the dog that are pouring out, and lots of writers hate first drafts but love editing. I don't really like editing that much. So, I'm alone office hours, and then I go and shout at 30 women. And the mornings are cerebral and the evenings are completely physical, and it's a wonderful pair of activities.
Yeah.
Because I think writing can be very lonely. You could spend days not interacting with other people. And I didn't tell. I've been teaching fitness classes for 10 years now, and I never told anyone in my classes what my other job was. And then I thought to myself, you could probably tell them, so I sort of mentioned it. And they were like, oh, that's amazing. Where can we buy the book? And they came to the launch. And I thought, why did this idea of keeping these lives completely separate? It turned out nice.
Do you think those lives might fuse further, that you might end up writing a book that might be inspired by a Zumba class, for example?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Because that is virtually the plot of the one I've just turned in.
Brilliant!
It's about a 60-year-old Zumba instructor who is resolutely single, but she's sort of not interested in mates. So once a year, on her birthday, she finds a bloke off Tinder and has sex with him.
Amazing.
And then it's how, what happens with this year's man, because she thinks, oh, he's Irish, I'll never see him again, he's from Dublin. And then he moves to Manchester. And she's like, this wasn't part of the plan.
Your Zumba class are going to go mental for that book.
They'll recognise themselves in it.
And then with the sequel to Blackbirds as well, what can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so the Blackbirds is about Daniel and his sister Pearl, and the sequel is we really focus on Pearl. So it's called the Nightingale of Covent Garden. Because in the first book you've heard a little bit about Pearl singing, but she really does take her place on the London stage. Yeah, so she's definitely the main character of book 2.
So your research process, I mean, you've Could you talk a little bit about that? Because your novels are all quite different as well. So how do you approach that, and what's the different way you approach it with the different books?
Well, with the historical books, one of my incarnations was creating educational resources. So I specialised in Black history for children, primary age children. So over the last decade, and that was the work I got the MBE for. I've done loads and loads of research and published lots of textbooks. So I kind of had that knowledge. Kate had the detailed knowledge about London in the 1760s, so I didn't have to do that research.
Yeah.
But in terms of the solo books that I'm writing, they are loosely based on incidents from my life, but I start with something that really happened and then do a what if.
Yeah.
So what if that had happened differently? And the lovely thing about being the decrepit age I am now is I've got so much backstory. And I think, this is wonderful. I can just literally, it's almost like pulling open filing cabinets in your head and just hauling out the memories. So I read The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey.
Yeah, I love that book.
And I grew up in Bradford when the Yorkshire Ripper was busy murdering people. And I completely forgot until I read that book that I'd actually written a piece for The Guardian 30 years ago about what it was like growing up in a city with a mass murderer. And I remembered that at one point, 5 bodies were found within a mile of our house because we lived right in Manningham. Wow. And it's like, you don't need to do any research. You just sort of need to get back into your own head and think, what did I feel like when there was a mass murderer on the loose? And what was it like growing up? Because when he was found, he lived a quarter of a mile from our school. And she really does nail that sense of constant tension and impending doom of growing up female in, because I remember, and she's like, when the police said, he's killing good girls now, also decent women. Just that comment alone made me a feminist.
Yeah, I think there's something quite interesting as well about using those kind of momentous events or as a backdrop to then kind of a civilian story as well, with something like The List of Suspicious Things. It's like that's the kind of scenery, and then the story kind of evolves. It's very kind of human interest story as well. I like that kind of juxtaposition of the two. But and there's something very kind of intimate about reading books like that, but also not having to have an understanding of what it would be to grow up in that time as well, that kind of sense of connection. And I think that's probably what you do very well as well, is creating connection for your readers who don't need to have the historical context, knowing it themselves to be able to enjoy your books. I think that's a fantastic skill.
Oh, thank you. But yes, I think it's about just excavating what you felt about things, and I can take it. The next stage is, okay, this is how I felt about X. How would I have felt about something similar but not identical? So, for instance, The Mercy Step is loosely based on my childhood, but not exactly. And it's very much, most of the main plot points happen, but not necessarily in that order. They've been changed around for, to make a better story. But a lot of it happened. And in The Mercy Step, the father dies towards the end of the book, and Mercy is told by a relative, go and pay your respects to your father, and shoved in the living room because they brought the bodies in, and she's trying to pay her respects, and the body exhales, which happened. I was like saying goodbye, and he breathed out. Apparently that happens. I was terrified.
And do you, with your story, did you share it with your family? Have your family read it before publication, or will they read it once it's out in the world?
They'll read it once it's out in the world. It was a really tough one, and I think that's probably why I've waited until I'm in my 60s to write it.
Yeah.
I think just not sure. I think it was Hanif Qureshi who said, writers have to have sort of some steel in them because you have to use your life. That's your story. And I was like, is it all right? Can I do this? How will it be received? And in the end, I think you have to, what I've chosen to do is write about what happened to me. So I haven't focused too much on other people's, shall I say, secrets. Not that it's really secrets, but I thought, I think I have the right to tell my story. But it's not been an easy one to decide to do.
And I guess that's where the real kind of emotional connection comes with your reader as well, because it's stories that are hard told, but told from the heart as well. Yeah,
because I can't see myself writing stuff that is completely fiction. I mean, it is fiction in that it's definitely not memoir and it's not autobiography, but there's always a kernel of something that really happened. So another one I've written is it's a love story that spans 50 years between two people who never actually get together.
Oh, wow.
And they only ever remain friends for a total of 50 years. And that's loosely based on someone I know who was, we were friends at uni, and it was that sort of never really happened, but you stayed really good friends. And I sort of said, would you mind if I wrote a novel about our friendship? And there was a slight raised eyebrow. But I was formally given permission. So, yeah.
That sounds like a really beautiful story.
I think so. There's a character in it who doesn't come out very well. And I told the person in question, I said, look, I'm thinking of writing this novel. There's a character in it based on you, and they're not a very nice person. And they said, yeah, I think that's fair enough. You can write it.
Because, of course, there's always, deniability. You can just say, if they read it, say, oh, is that me? You can say, no, definitely not.
It's a novel.
It's complete fiction.
Oh, yeah, I think... Yes, as a lawyer, I think the official term is inspired by, but not based on. You have to say inspired by.
Anything that appears to be real people is not
yes, it's
worded,
the boilerplate text at the front. But I think novelists will often start with stuff from their own lives and then move out. And I think the more I write, the more I'll fictionalize stuff.
We were talking about your process into coming to writing, but if you had any words of advice for anybody who was considering either being a writer or was kind of at the beginning of their writing career, what advice would you give to them?
Oh, first and foremost, just keep writing.
Yeah.
Do not stop, even if all you're doing is polishing that chapter you wrote last week. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Just add another one. It's particularly a novel. It's so much a marathon, not a sprint. And, the other thing I'd say is there is no one method. Some people are pantsers, some people are plotters. There is no one method. The trick is to find what works for you. Because it took me a while to work out that I needed to do a lap of the park with the dog.
I'm so going to do that tomorrow morning.
Definitely trying that one out.
But it's so what works for you, because so many people say, oh, no, everyone must be a plotter or the only good writing is pantsing. And it's not. It's just try everything until you find something that clicks. But even then, what clicks for one novel might be a completely different process for another novel. Because the first thing I wrote, I was literally pantsing short stories and then trying to stitch them together afterwards. But I have written one where I planned it with literally a spreadsheet, every chapter. Maybe it's just me, but my process is different depending on what I'm writing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have the same process. So it's like, don't let anyone tell you how it has to be done. Work it out for yourself and keep writing. Whatever you do, keep writing. Because I'm a 62-year-old debut. And it's like, look, finally.
That's absolutely fabulous advice, I think. That's our time has come to an end. I think we've got some pearls of wisdom in there, I think. And so if our listeners want to hear more from you, keep new idea of your news and so on, are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on everything. So I'm on Substack. I've got a website, marciahutchinson.com. I'm on Instagram at Marcia, MARXIA1, the number 1. I'm on Facebook. I'm on absolutely everything. I'm on Twitter as Marcia the Writer.
And all of that is not being on so many platforms. That's not a distraction from
all your
You're
5
still
million jobs and writing.
managing everything else done as well.
Well, I don't think I'm as good as I could be on all of the platforms, but you're supposed to do it, so I try. But I don't think I do as much as I should.
Well, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. I think we are thoroughly inspired now. So thank you so much, Marcia, and best of luck with the publication of your book later on in the summer.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for listening.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your writer friends about us.